Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Muhammadan wa alayhi wa salam. All praise is due to Allah, Ra, cherisher and sustainer of all the worlds. May peace and blessings be upon the noble messenger, his family and companions. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. None has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. This week we will be continuing on with our book about body language. We're up to page 14 in this book. Last week we talked about how to tell when someone is angry. This week we will talk about signs of nervousness or tension from someone. And if you see these signs, it's up to you to kind of calm the person down. You know, if they're nervous or frightened or scared of you, then you're kind of wasting your time, and you should try to calm them down, make them feel at home. It says their fists are clenched like this. Their feet are tapping or shaking or nervous. You see some people look like the whole table will be vibrating, everything around them.
Yes.
The bottom edges between the fingers of one hand are clenched like this. Index finger, one hand joined with a flash behind the thumb like this. We call this working the hands in America. You'll see some, we say, my mom used to be like this. She used to wring her hands when she got nervous or looked like she's trying to get the water out of them. They speak in a high-pitched or fast-paced and sometimes stuttering voice, or it sounds like their voice is wavering. They often clear their throat. Sometimes it seems like their mouth is dry and they want more water to drink. Their arms are crossed, but they're gripping their biceps like this. This is a different kind. This is frightened, where this is resistance or anger. When you're gripping the arms like this is nervousness, like you're trying to hug or console yourself. Their arms are back, where one hand is pressing the wrist or arm, like this. Their arms are crossed, but they're gripping their biceps, as I said. Their legs are crossed while standing. Their eyes evade you. They don't want to look directly at you. Sometimes they will look at something else even when you're talking to you. They have a wilted handshake. Some people, it feels like you got a piece of wilted lettuce in your hand, like the hand is just nothing, it's just hanging there. The ankles are locked or glued to each other. When accompanied by clenched fists, this may indicate they are holding back strong emotions or feelings that they don't want to tell you. They don't smoke. You thought people smoke because they're nervous. This is not true. It is in fact the opposite. People who smoke only do so when they are not tensed in any way. When you hear them say, "Whew," it means they are previously nervous but are now relieved because their problems have been solved, or they have a big challenge ahead. They survived this big challenge.
So it's a sign of relief.
Yeah, they're relieved that they had nothing to be frightened of. Sometimes you invite somebody to your house or invite somebody to talk to you, right away Shaitan puts something in their mind, danger, warning, something's wrong. They don't realize, maybe you just want to say, hello, how are you? How's your day? Would you like to work for me? Something good. And you will hear them say, oh, thank God. I thought I was in trouble. Especially happens when you have co-workers or people who work underneath you. And when you tell them, for instance, if you call outside and say, would Mr. So-and-so please report to the office ASAP? The first thing goes through his mind is, oh my God, what did I do now? And between his desk and the office, that's all he's thinking about. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? And he's thinking about all these scenarios from there to there. And then he gets to the office and says, oh, it's your birthday, congratulations. You want to say happy birthday. You say, thank God, I thought it was something important. Next thing we're going to talk about signals made when they are doubting or suspecting you. And this is a very important one, especially if you're talking about dialogue. You want to make sure that the message you're given is coming through. So if they're suspecting or doubting you, you should know. Sometimes difficult to assume whether you are being regarded as a trustworthy person or you're being thought of as someone who is full of nonsense. Here are some clues that may indicate suspicion. Number one, they glimpse sideways from the corner of one eye. If you're talking and then they just kind of look at you, like, What did he say? They're rubbing or touching their eyes or their ears. The hands are tucked into their pockets. The arms are crossed over their chest like this, not gripping the biceps, but crossed like this. Their glasses are dropped over the lower bridge of their nose, and they're peeping over. Normally people look at you like this, but if they're different, they're like this. They're looking over the top. Like, did you really say what you said? Are you sure that's right? They're not saying this, but with their eyes, that's what they're saying. Be suspicious of what you're saying. This movement may indicate that you're being examined closely, to the point that you get conscious. When somebody looks at you like this, you will start to feel self-conscious and nervous, and you go back in your mind, you'll say, well, what did I say? Why is he saying? Why is he looking at me this way? What did I do? What did I say? There's one act you usually do when you are the one doubting yourself, rubbing or touching your nose. This sequentially occurs when you are uncertain of how to answer a critical question, or when you are concerned of other people's reactions to your answer. So not only are you looking for other people's reactions, you have to be aware of what reactions you are sending to them. When we go through the other book of how to talk to people, it'll tell you to keep your hands, palms down, stay in a neutral mode all the time. It's okay to use your hands to speak, but don't use it in an alarming way, or don't point at somebody, or these things you will find in other books. Signals made when they need reassurance. Sometimes you're talking to people and they feel doubtful, they feel unassured, and there's things that you can do or say that make them feel reassured. Like they're okay, everything's all right, you're okay, nobody's going to kill you, you're safe, these kind of things.
So you reassure them. You reassure them with words or with movement?
Words and movement both. You can do both. Sometimes it's simple as touching a man on the shoulder. This is a calming effect on some people.
It's not a sign of arrest?
No. If you pull a gun out instead of handcuffs, this may be a sign of arrest. But no. Would you just touch somebody on the shoulder or just pat them and say, it's okay, everything's going to be all right? Some people have this disorder where they feel that they are always making the wrong decisions. You've seen them. They'll say, oh, I want this microphone. And they will go to the store and they'll look at this microphone and say, no, this is a good microphone. And it's a good price. And then the next thing you say, oh, should I really buy this? Maybe later there'll be one better than this for a lower price. This really doesn't have everything I want. It's got 7 out of 8 things. It's cheaper than the other one, but I don't think I really should. This is people who cannot reassure themselves. They can't make a decision. They have a problem. Sometimes you have to narrow it down. You're asking people to make a decision based on 1,000 things. If you narrow it down to one thing, for me personally, I would like to ask, what's stopping you from becoming a Muslim? Don't worry about all this other stuff. The only thing you have to worry about is the fact that there's only one God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Everything else, forget it. This is the ice cream on top of the cake. So sometimes you have to take all these other things away from them and just narrow it down to one thing. And then answer the questions they have about this one thing. And then they're reassured. They feel self-confident again. When they look to be reassured, you'll see them sticking a pin in their mouth. Sometimes they're clicking it. They squeeze the chunky part of the hand. You'll see them working like this on their hand. They rub the back of the chair while sitting. They clamp their hands with thumbs touching against one another, like this. They bite their nails in some cases. A lot of people bite their nails. They touch their throat. These women especially will touch their throat like this. Some women are reassured, you'll see them, their whole neck will be red where they've been scratching like this from unassurance or not knowing what they're going to do. They jiggle the coins in their pockets. We don't have many coins here, but in America you'll see a guy shaking his coins like this, you hear him. Especially if he's worried about you taking some of his money. Those people who are rich, you hear them jiggle their coins a lot. It reassures themselves that their money's still there. There are certain types of people would do when they want to reassure others. Here's what you would do if you want to. A woman gives reassurance to another female by holding both of her hands and sometimes hugging her. You'll see women just reach out and grab their hands and say, it's okay, or they want to hug the person. The facial appearance of the consoling female matches the solemn mood of another female's. If she's feeling sad and crying, she'll pretty much put on the same face. A politician who would like to reassure you that he will be doing a good job when elected in public office would shake your hand with his right hand and cup it with his left hand. Oh, how are you doing? How are you doing? Although I told you in the first show this is a sign of power.
Yes.
You didn't understand, but when he grabbed your hand like this and then put his hand over the top, he's showing that he's in power. And that reassures you that he is a powerful person. He can take charge.
So
He's telling you he's in charge. You received the signal from just his handshake. Indications of pride. People often show how proud they are of their material possessions, for example, like a car, by leaning against it or by touching it. You can see the spark in their eye. They're just practically begging you, please ask me about my new car. Please ask me about my new car. You can see the sparkle in their eyes and you can sense the thrill in their voice. How to know when they are lying. This is very important because sometimes there will be people just say, yes, I want to become Muslim, but they don't really want to become Muslim. For us, really, we're not concerned. That's between him and God. But why should you waste your time with these people? They speak in a high-pitched, fast-paced, stuttering voice, same as the other ones. They're constantly swallowing and clearing their throat. They try their best to avoid having eye contact. This applies particularly to people who want to avoid discussion or a certain topic. They look somewhere else and glimpse from the corner of their eye. So if you ask somebody if he wants to know about Islam, and he says, yeah, sure, but I don't really have time right now. Maybe tomorrow I can meet you for coffee or something. But he's not looked at you. He's swallowing constantly. He's looking away from you. He's shuffling with his feet. It means he's probably not going to come tomorrow for coffee. You've very much wasted your time. They stick their tongue out to moisten their lips. Said when you lie, your lips get very dry. They're blinking rapidly. Their eyes are rapid eye movement. They rub their full throat like the woman does, like it's just itching too much. Their arms are crossed over their chest again in the defensive motion. They are constantly touching parts of their face, especially the mouth, ear, and nose, as if covering them. I don't know why when people are lying, they think they have to cover their mouth so you can't really see what they're saying, I guess. They scratch their head or the back of their neck. The poses are closed, descending, and insecure. The hands or feet are tapping. They always look down with shrugged shoulders. The shoulders are down like this and he's looking down because he can't look you in the eye. They're constantly moving from one place to another or changing their poses. Left to right, back to forth. They are protecting parts of their body, projecting parts of their body, such as feet, to an escape route. Headed to the door. Ready to run at any time. If you say, okay, you could go, they're gone, out the door. You've probably seen a lot of these. If you have children, you've seen a lot of these things. Especially in children, you will see these. They put them out more than anyone else because they don't know how to protect themselves against this. So just watch your child sometimes when you start to, is that the truth? And watch what he says. Watch how he reacts and you will see these movements. The next thing we talk about is don't jump to conclusions. Every person has a unique body language. And if the person knows that you can read body language, he's going to project to you what he wants you to know. If he knows you're watching to see if he's lying, he will try very hard not to project what he wants you not to see. Don't ever tell nobody, don't ever make the mistake of telling anybody, I'm reading your body language. Because sometimes they get so angry they want to fight. Although silence usually denotes that an individual is reserved and relaxed, some people keep their anger within themselves and stay quiet. This is very unhealthy because rage keeps up inside and can explode furiously any time, causing serious casualties. A wide open mouth may indicate shock or astonishment. If you ask them a question or make a statement, they say, what? For one, open mouth may indicate shock or astonishment for one person, while another person who performs this gesture could be concentrating intently on a task he's doing. Constantly touching the mouth may indicate lying, although the real reason might just be the mouth is itching. So you have to take these things into consideration. If you're reading his body language, is he doing it for a reason? Is he continuing to do it? One time is not enough. You're going to have to read him over and over and over again. Change the subject, see if he changes. Go back to the subject, see if he does it again. This will tell you if he's getting the proper signals or not. One way to overcome this dilemma is to watch out for the other signals. Don't just take one, take many. If all the signals are the same, then you know what he's thinking or what's going on. Judge it based on one or two gestures only may not be accurate enough, although they can be dependable. Be aware of the body language, but also combine your observations with the spoken words to get more hints regarding the inner feelings of another. Use this power to your advantage, and not maliciously or meaningful trying to do something bad, but just to help yourself with your speaking, to see if your message is getting across, see if he understands you, see if he's being receptive, and those kind of things. Now we're going to go into another chapter, and this is a different kind of body language. This is called mirroring. And you do it every day, but you don't understand it until somebody brings it to your attention. That's where maybe you have a brother or a friend that you really like a lot, and he does certain things a certain way. You will catch yourself doing exactly like him. This is called mirroring. And you can use mirroring to befriend somebody who you want to talk to, somebody you need to talk to. You just become like him. Oh, he likes to go fishing. Me too. I like fishing. You just start to agree everything with him and become a mirror of what he does. However, you have to be warned about this. If you do this and they catch you, they get very angry. They think you're making fun of them. They become very self-conscious. They become very angry.
Is it based on pretension? Pretend that you like this hobby or that hobby?
Some people base it on pretending, especially con men use this. If you know what con men is, I don't know if they have them.
No?
This is we call him a confidence man. He becomes your best friend to take all your money or something. Of course, this is not the reason we do this, and this is not the reason we're talking about. However, you can use it to your advantage. Once you know about this, you can watch people who are mirroring you to find out why they're doing it, what their motive is, and what they're doing. So it's also protection for yourself. It's not just to your advantage. Which would you rather be? Or who would you rather be? Your best friend who loves pizza as much as you do, who's crazy about basketball like you, who watches the same programs on TV as you, or your next door neighbor who's a vegetarian? Who do you want to be with? The one who likes to eat the kind of food you like, or the one who likes to eat vegetables? Of course, you're going to be with the one who eats the same thing as you do. He has the same likes as you do. If your next door neighbor is a drunk and chases prostitutes, and then you're not going to want to be around him, especially if you're a Muslim and you prefer to read and go to the mosque and prayer. You're not going to be want with this person. You're going to want to be with somebody like you. This is called marrying. Answer is obvious. You want to be around people who have the same behaviors, same attitudes, and same values of yours. Birds of a feather flock together. Bookworms like each other's company because they share a common bond. They can talk about books. Oh, which book did you read this week? And you'll tell him. He says, oh, I've read that one already, but this week I read this one. You see how they get along together, and they're a mirror image of each other. If you really want someone to like and trust you, you've got to exhibit the same qualities as that person. And there's no better way to do this than by using body language. Here's how it's done. Match their facial expressions. If they smile, you smile. If they frown, you frown. Gestures, posture, speech, styles, actions, and breathing patterns. Values and belief. Put yourself in their shoes. In other words, become them. By doing this, you're also matching their way of thinking. You may easily adapt to their inner thoughts and views. You may also do some crossover matching. For example, you talk at the same rate as they're breathing. If they're breathing fast, you talk fast. If they're breathing slow, talk slow. Or you can scratch your chin every time they blink their eyes. If he blinks his eyes, and he doesn't notice it, but subconsciously he sees a reaction every time he sees it, he feels it. He doesn't know why, but he feels it.
So what's the use?
It's sort of like becoming a friend to the person.
When you scratch?
Well, yeah, he's seeing the emotion and he's using the emotion to connect it with himself. It's to put you on the same path together. You wouldn't want to blink every time he blinked. You'd start to look crazy between the two of you, both of you trying to blink at the same time. It's to make a connection together. Be genuinely interested and curious with everything you can find out about them. Discover their attitude, know their life story. This is what we call mirroring. Personally, I don't like to use this because I think it's dishonest and it's not something really I want to do. Not being myself. If they don't like me for being myself, I have no need of it. I don't want to change to suit somebody or fit somebody else.
Even in Islam, it's, you are advised to be yourself.
However, we go over this because of the fact that I told you a while ago. There are some people who come to us and mirror us to get confidence in them. So don't be fooled or don't be drawn into something that really is not going to help them or you. You should develop rapport, and that means the ultimate goal of mirroring is to build rapport. It's a time when you and your people and the people you're mirroring feel so close and in sync with each other. Sometimes you hear people say that he doesn't feel like my friend, he feels like my brother. You'll hear him also say, I know what he's going to say before he opens his mouth. Especially between men and women. You don't hear it much here, but in the United States you hear men say, I know what she's going to say before she ever says it. And some men chase women this way. They become like them. They find out what the woman wants. For instance, she says, well, I like an outdoors type. Even if he's not an outdoors type, he's going to become an outdoors type. So it's basically becoming what that person wants with a goal in mind. Whatever his goal is. If he wants to get married to her, if he just wants to have a relationship with her, whatever, he's using this mirroring technique. Body's language and negotiations. This really doesn't have much to do with talking about Islam, but it's kind of important because everything is a negotiation. You'll hear some people say everything is a negotiation. Even deciding what time to go to bed at night can be a negotiation. Your children wants to stay up to 9:30 and you want to go to bed at 9 o'clock. It becomes a negotiation. Maybe you end up at 9:15. So negotiations are important. In almost every point in your life, you constantly do the art of negotiation. From haggling with your favorite flea market, it means going to the souk and saying, I don't want to pay 2 riyals for these onions, I want to pay 1 riyal. So everything is negotiation. To lobbying for a well-deserved increase from your boss, negotiations are being made daily in your life. And you would almost, in all aspects of the negotiation process, involve body language. When you are negotiating, especially in the souk, if you go and he wants 100 riyals and you only want to pay 50, he's going to read your body language to decide if you're really going to pay 100 or not. Even if your mouth says, no, I'm only going to pay 50 riyals, but if you're reaching for your wallet and he knows by your body language that you're going to pay 100 riyals. You already got your wallet out. No, I'm only going to pay 50. So your body language is telling him what he wants to know. So it's the same thing with Islam. If you're talking to somebody, and for instance you're saying Jesus is not God, Jesus is not Son of God, and you see that he's listening, and then he just goes back into his old ways, well, you know, the Bible says this and the Bible says that, but he's still listening to what you say. You know he's accepting it. He's just being prideful or whatever, and he doesn't want to admit to it, or whatever it is. Early signs. The first step in using body language in a negotiation begins the moment you walk into the negotiation room. And it doesn't have to be a room, it doesn't have to be anywhere. This is especially true if you're going somewhere to talk about Islam. From the very first moment you walk through the door, you're being looked at, and the decision is being made about you. The person is making decisions without you ever saying a word. Be keen in observing their body language by focusing on the whole body, their head, their arms, hands, chest, stomach, legs, and feet. Observe everything. If you achieve this, you'll be able to listen better. You'll also be able to have a better perspective in reading their body language, because they're reading yours from the very first moment. If you come and you look nervous and you're stuttering and you're stammering, they're thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, we wasted our time. personal space in negotiations, as we talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, we talked about personal space. Understand that in every society there's a difference of space. For instance, here in Saudi Arabia, the personal space is right here. Where a Westerner, the personal space is an arm length away. If you get within that arm length of a person who doesn't know it, it starts to look like a dance. You move forward, he moves back. You move back, he moves forward. It says he moves, I move, we move. It's like a dance. And you don't understand it unless somebody's brought it up to your attention. If you don't know that his personal space is one arm's length, you keep violating his space and he keeps moving out of it. And so it becomes something between the two of you that is hard to overcome. You want to talk to him, but he keeps trying to escape from you. He's nervous and you're nervous because you keep saying, well, why is he running away from me? Where is he going? And he keeps saying, why does he get closer? Why does he get closer? Is he homosexual? What's he trying to do? Is he trying to steal my wallet? They really don't understand. So it's important that you know these things. Even as so far as chairs, if you put all the people in the room and put them side by side with each other, they're not going to like it. They will be too close to each other, they'll be rubbing arms. And if they're Westerners, they're not going to like it. You violated their space. So all these things you have to understand and know. By business practice, people of higher status, president of the company, command more personal space and are usually conferred by other people in the negotiating table. Even I told you last week that sometimes the chair of the person in charge should be higher than the others. People believe this. The person in charge should be higher, so he's talking down to the subordinates. It's important that you put your chair all on the same space. It's a simple rule that if here in Saudi Arabia, we all sit on the floor. Nobody's higher than the other. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, so to speak. I'm not telling them I'm better than you. I'm putting myself down with them. And it's important, if you're making a speech, to show people that in Islam we're all equal. There's nobody no more important than me, and nobody no more important than you, and then I stand up and they all sit down. What does it make it look like? I've sent the message that what I'm saying is false. It's true and untrue. But if I sit down with them, and we all sit together, put ourselves on an equal space, then what I'm saying comes across to them. Yes, everybody's the same. Subconsciously and consciously they understand this. The authority over the most dominant chair, usually the head of the table, is the apparent symbol of power. So they think whichever chair is the head of the table. That's why some people have these round tables.
Yes.
And a round table diffuses, it makes everybody equal. If you have an oblong or square table, and then you say this is the head of the table, automatically you've made whoever's there the boss, and everybody else is subordinate. But if you have a round table like this, there are no corners, there's no head of the table. You may sit in a way that surrounds that person, or any sitting arrangement where you may comfortably get leverage. Personally, we're not looking for the leverage. We want everybody to equal, everybody has the right to talk. You need to tell them these things about the mosque. The imam is leading the prayer, but he's by no way in charge. He's just leading the prayer. If he makes a mistake, everybody in the mosque has the right to say, mistake. You're going to correct him by giving him the correct words, but this is the way we do for making a mistake. Everybody has the same amount of power. Show it in all your actions. Have a round table, sit on the floor, give everybody the same chair, the same height. These are things that will, in their mind, will make them feel like they're equal to you. First impressions last, and this is an old statement which is true for a long time. In the negotiating table, the first move is the most crucial, just like in the game of chess. If you play the white piece, like in the game of chess, you play the white piece, you get the built-in advantage. Because you draw first blood, and the opponent's next move, and game plan for that matter, is dependent on the crucial first move. So make a good, firm, and calculated move. Begin with a positive body language. Hold your hand out, straight. Not like this, not like this, straight. Don't break his hand, or her hand. We don't shake hands with women, but for women, don't shake and break their hands. Just a firm handshake, not hard, not soft, firm. Hello, how are you? And let go. Gives a good impression. it's a neutral position. There's no, I'm stronger than you, no, you're stronger than me. It's a good neutral position.
Also, brother, I noticed some people to show more courtesy when they shake hand. Even some presidents, they hold the arm of the person. They shake a hand and hold the person.
This is a reassuring mode, yes. It's to reassure them, as I was telling you, some people pat. But if he takes his hand and put it on top of the other one, that's not a reassuring mode, that's a more powerful than you mode. So all these things, once you learn them, you'll understand what he's trying to do. And they have to actually teach these people how to do this. They don't do it naturally. They have people behind them who are telling them everything to do. And it all concerns body language. They go to body language coaches. They have people who tell them, you did this during the thing, it tells the people this. And don't do this, keep your hands here, don't put your hands in the pocket, don't play with your mouth. They have coaches to tell them the things that you're learning now. They pay them big money just to learn these things. Give a solid handshake, as I said, but do not squeeze, do not hurt, do not attempt to show him I'm the Hercules of this. Press the hand one time while looking at the other, press straight in the eye. Press and let go. Look him in the eye. Hello, how are you today? And you can even use this design to say, hi, my name is Dr. Abdullah. My name is Yahya. This is a good time. And if you're trying to be friendly and if the person's agreeable to it, you can hold it a little longer than that, but I don't advise it because they start to feel self-confident. Why is he holding on to me? Why is he... people don't like this. Press the hand one time while looking, person straight in the eye. Pressing the hand once or twice may indicate excitement or vitality, but anything more than that can make the other person uneasy. So if you press it a little longer, you're just trying to show him that I'm stronger than I look, or yeah, I'm old, but I'm not that old. So, but don't go past that. Let it go and go on. Put your body language know how to use. During the negotiation process, observe their gestures. In the first chapter, you were taught how to recognize if people are interested in what you're saying or if they're casting doubts on you. If they are more open to accept your proposal, and even when you are lying. So all these things keep in your mind, practice it on your children, practice it on your co-workers, and there will be no problem, inshallah. Be alert and recognize these signals. Be aware of your own actions. You might be exhibiting signs of nervousness without knowing it, and your counterparts who might also know body language might take advantage of these circumstances. Don't assume that you're the only person in the room reading body language. There's a lot of people who study this. There's a lot of people who study this, have PhDs in it. Long time in college to do. Don't be assuming that you're the only person. Try to show the right body language and try to read theirs, and inshallah you'll be okay. Next is chapter 4, where we're going to talk about body language in selling. What do you think this course has to do with selling? Are we selling something? Aren't we selling Islam? It's not costing anything, but we are trying to, because I use the term a lot when I'm talking to people, that you're actually selling a car. It's the exact same habits as when you sell a car. You have to be able to read that person. Is he accepting it? Is he willing to accept it? Is he being truthful? Is he lying? All these things you have to know when you're selling. So basically it's the same thing. You are selling Islam. It's for free, but you're selling it. And you have to decide whether they're going to take it or not going to take it. So it is a form of selling. So some of these ideas in the chapter on selling we can use. We could use. And even if not, maybe you want to sell your car, you could use these. So if you go to the souk, you may know something. Studies in psychology tell us that the effect you have on others depends on what you say from the mouth, 7%. What comes out of your mouth only affects people 7%. So you can be the most eloquent speaking person in the world and be only accepting 7%. So it's not as worth as much as you think. The manner in which you say it, or the body language that you use, accounts for 38%. 38%. So how you say it means more than what you say. I mean, it's easy. Just think about it. You've probably seen it on some kind of film. The man said, I love you. But did he mean it? His actions showed that he didn't mean it. He's just saying it with his mouth. And 7% is all they're getting out of it. But if he shows with his actions that he really loves them, they're getting 38%. And your body language itself is 55%. So 38, how you do it, 55 body language, and 7% by mouth. I always say that when you go to talk to somebody about Islam, they know instinctively, right away, whether what you're telling them, you really mean it, you really feel it, and whether you're telling the truth or not. Because personally, I don't like to lie to people. And I hope that when I talk to them, that comes across. Well, if I don't have the right body language, and I don't have that in my heart, they know right away you're lying to them. So it's important not to lie to them, and to show them with your body language and your emotions that you are speaking the truth. In addition, how you sound also imparts a message. So 93% of the emotion is all conveyed without saying any words whatsoever. If only 7% has to do with the words, the other 93% has to do with no language whatsoever. So if you're talking to me and even you don't speak English, 93% of what you say is coming to me even if you don't speak English. So those people who say, I can't make daiwa because I can't speak a foreign language, they don't know what they're talking about. This is also true in selling. In the real world, we sell tangible items and also ideas. Sometimes it's not about selling cars or basketballs or shoes, it's your ideas. You're selling your ideas. And that's what we're trying to do when we're talking to people about Islam. We're trying to sell the idea. When you sell, you can use postures, facial expressions, gestures, mannerisms, and your physical appearance to close the sale successfully. Most customers tend to buy when triggered by their senses, one of their 5 senses. The key here is to do everything you can to positively affect their senses. Put a positive image of Islam forward, and they will receive a positive image. You put forth a negative image, and that's what they receive. Most people believe the image projected by Mother Teresa was a positive image. She used her personality to convey a constant image of holiness and sincerity. We brought the idea of her image. We bought it. Nonverbal communication also connotes that a man of few words is a man of credibility. So a man that talks too much is not credible. So standing and just yak, 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 he's not credible. Few words. It should only take a few words to get across what you need. If it takes more than that, it's not credible. People's ears begin to close and their attention goes away and you lose the audience. And smelling, the instant you meet a target client, he's already examining you based on your image and perception in a span of 10 seconds or less. So if you're shaking the hands of somebody, 10 seconds, he's already got an idea of you. From what he smells, what he hears, what he sees, he's already got an idea of you. Even if it's a false image. Whatever image you put forth was the one he received. This is a crucial moment in selling, as his first impression of you will definitely make a permanent mark. And sometimes it takes years to take that first impression away. So be careful the first impression you give people. Whether you make or break a sale can literally depend on the nonverbal signals that you send during this crucial first contact. It's a must for readers of this book and this class to understand the facets of body language, especially in selling. Americans, for example, are somewhat categorized as one of the best in reading body language because they espouse thousands of nonverbal signs. This ability makes them formidable negotiators. Somebody who's giving out lots of signs certainly could read them or he wouldn't be giving them out. In addition, women are generally considered to be more adept to body language than men because of their natural built-in instincts. Now you know the secret why some women are more successful than men in business or professional field and are better at selling than men are, because they're better at reading body language. They have more experience at it. As a rule of thumb, body language is being used most of the time all over the world. The most common example is nodding head, meaning, yep, yep, yep. But if you know body language, you know somebody, especially somebody who's not listening to him, is going, yep, yep. In the back of his mind, he's thinking about, is it time to go home? I'm ready to go home. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I'm hungry. It's yes, 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 yes. So you should be able to read these. Sometimes you are steadily talking to a group of people and you don't know they've been held over by their company to listen to you, but they haven't eaten dinner yet. Is he thinking about what you're saying, or is he thinking about going home and eating chicken and rice? You need to know this. If they can't sit still, they're restless, they like this, or you have to find out why. Have these guys ate yet? You know, sometimes you just let them go eat and come back, and their mind is open, they're refreshed, they're ready to talk. Now they have questions. As a rule of thumb, body language is being used most of the time all over the world. The most common example is the nodding the head meaning yes. That is not necessarily the case every time. For example, shaking legs might connote that a person is nervous, while it may just be a person's natural behavior, and it may mean that he's comfortable. If the person is a person who shakes his legs all the time, that means he's comfortable with you. A person's eyes could evade you because he's hiding something, or it could also mean that he's extremely shy or sleepy. Given these intricacies, what's important is to analyze the message really is. You can do it by looking at patterns. Look out for groups of signals that may have the same meaning in relation to verbal expressions, not just one time, but checking over and over and over again. And don't be too conscious of looking for a sign, because you'll catch yourself looking for a sign and it never comes. Actually, what's happened is you've missed it. Once you know about it, it becomes subconscious. You know, he did this, I know what that is. And you just use it to your advantage, because there's not really time in a conversation for me to decide if you're listening or not listening. I have to do it subconsciously. I have to know, and I have to be able to adjust myself quickly to the conversation one way or the other. I can't see you do something and think, oh, what was that? What was this? What was that? Oh, then I should do this. And then I've lost you. It's too late. You have to be able to do it subconsciously. Once you have traced the patterns, it's easier to understand body language. It therefore help you to make a sale. Written below are some body language techniques to help make your sales sizzle, or make them hot, make them better. You can immediately analyze a person's personality by studying his style and shaking hands. As I have told you before, first thing is, how does he shake hands? I have noticed that when most Muslims shake hands, it's straight, forward, firm, and let go. There is no, we feel equal to each other. But I have noticed that some non-Muslims will try to come over the top, try to put their hand above yours. This is to show that I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you. To counteract this, if you have somebody who forces your hand underneath, put your hand back on top, take your other hand, the left hand, put it back on top, and that will neutralize him and make it. If you want to. If you don't want to, and you realize this, just let him go ahead. Just understand what he's doing, and let it go ahead. Don't worry about it. In your mind, you know. Watch at the end of the conversation, when you say goodbye, and see what kind of handshake you get. You don't have to always counteract him. Just understand it.
Especially as a Muslim, you are supposed to be humble.
It shows a sign of
If they are
humbleness.
arrogant, it's no problem.
And if he just feels he's better than you, it doesn't matter.
No, then-
As long as you understand, it's okay. Don't get the feeling he's better than you. Just understand that he thinks he's better than you. Once you trace the patterns, you can immediately analyze a person by studying his style and shaking hands. An assertive person holds your hand firmly when you shake his hand. On the other hand, an individual with no confidence often gives you a frail handshake, kind of, we say, like shaking like a woman. A person who wants to win your trust would usually shake your hand with his other hand, cuddling the hand over the shake. Sometimes they will do that. Adopt a handshake that is firm yet not crushing. Convey confidence and professionalism, not dominance, not muscle man effect. Just straight, hello, how are you? Posture is another aspect of body language. Slouching shoulders, with your eyes looking at the ground all the time, can indicate lack of interest. We understand that in Muslims this is not true. As Muslims we look down so that we're not looking at.
Lower your gaze.
It's a sign of humbleness, not a sign of submissiveness. But if you're talking to non-Muslims, this is things you would look for. Is he looking at you? Is he looking? Match the straight open posture with a genuine facial expression. Dispose of the sunglasses. Don't wear sunglasses when you're talking to people. They can't see your eyes and they feel self-confident. They feel not self-confident. They feel
superior.
Yeah, they feel you're superior and that you're lying, or you don't want them to know something. You're hiding something. Is what they feel. When he looks straight in lies, he can tell if you are lying. So be transparent. Lay down your cards, throw your shades away. Be sure to avoid piercing looks. That means where you stabbing, staring looks. The client might get intimidated if you do this. When doing sales calls and presentations, be sure to use sincere and open movements all the time. Do not cross your arms. Do not give him, "I'm better than you." This tells him, "I'm not listening to what you say. My opinion's important, but yours is not." These are things that you would do, unless it's cold outside. I mean, if you're in Alaska and you're freezing, that's different. You both might be doing this to keep your hands warm, but as a general rule, don't do it. Don't point. Pointing at a client is equivalent to death and wish in selling, as if you're waving your sales opportunity goodbye. Pointing is an aggressive act that can be interpreted as hospitality or hostility. So you can point if somebody's got a question, you say, "Yes, you next." But if you say, "You're the one that made a mistake," then that's damning and very hard for that person, and he doesn't want to be singled out amongst all the other people. You've lost him. In sales, there are signs that you are open for negotiations and willing to compromise. There are some things when we talk we are willing to compromise on, except for Islam itself. There's no compromise there. Removing your jacket or rolling up your sleeves means you're ready to get busy, you're ready to go to work. "Okay, I'm ready, let's negotiate." All right. You're getting comfortable, you're there for the long haul, you're not running out the door. You as a seller may also use body language as a tool to recognize and counteract any potential objections by the client. The usual scenarios include the following. Client's arms are crossed, he's not talking to you. He knows better than you. So these are things when selling that we can use. The book goes on into job interviews, which I'm not going to go into. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We may go into this body language in meetings in our next class. And that'll put us up to 37, which means next week will be our last week because there's only 2 pages of it, and then there's a conclusion. So with that, we'll stop this week and open up for questions, and next week will be our last week. After we finish this book next week, we will stop until after Ramadan, and then we will start. The previous 2 books have been about how to make da'wah, and then we will start a course on showing da'wah made by itself, where we will bring non-Muslims in and we will talk and hold an open mic or forum, as you say.
Brother Yahya, thank you very much. May Allah reward you. Brother Yahya Maxwell, may Allah reward you. We have learned a lot. You have enlightened us really and corrected some of the misconceptions we had about certain movements of body language. I think, as a Muslim, sometimes we are misunderstood. For example, if we are addressing a lady, we lower our gaze. This is not a kind of insult. It is just opposite. You are respecting, the lady. So, can you say something about this to clarify this concept that non-Muslim might hold?
Well, we as Muslims are not supposed to stare directly at women, and I personally have a problem with this myself, coming from a Western background. Because I'm so concerned with reading body language, I find it hard for me to read body language if I'm not looking at the person. It says to lower our gaze or look away. For me, I try to look away, and from the corner of my eye I can see, I'm not looking at them directly and I don't see the shape. And we as Muslims, we're not supposed to, because it says that if we look the first time, it's okay. Yeah. But then we should look away. Mm-hmm. And then if we look back again, then we've committed the sin, because then we've intentionally wanted to. The first time may have been unintentional. And I know some people are confused about that, because women are trying to read our body language. And if we don't look at them, that sends them a signal that we are not interested in them. We don't mean anything. There's also the thing that a lot of people seem to believe, that we as Muslims are against the human rights of women, and it could be no farther from the truth. When most women take the time to talk to somebody about Islam, they're surprised to find out that they have more human rights as a Muslim than they do as a non-Muslim. The fact of this is that recently the figures have come out that for every 1 man who becomes Muslim, 8 women become Muslim. So it's 8 to 1. Women are becoming Muslim faster than men. They are guaranteed some rights in Islamic law that are not guaranteed anywhere else. For instance, the right to vote only came about in the United States recently. I mean, recent history, 75, 80 years. But
The right to
from
own.
1435 years ago, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave the women the right to vote from the very beginning.
The right to own.
The right to own land, the right not to be owned. Before women were owned, it was their own property in certain cultures. But from the time of Muhammad ﷺ, all these things were taken away. She can have her own money, she can have her own bank account. They are allowed to work as long as this job does not go against the laws or edicts of Islam.
In certain cultures also, as soon as she marries, her property goes to the husband. And this never happens.
Yes. In many places like that, the woman, as soon as she becomes married, everything becomes her husband's, including her. She no longer is a person.
Even her surname.
Yes. And that's part of it. During Rome, that's the way it was. And that's why the practice in some Western cultures, especially now, when the woman gets married, she goes from her family to his. My wife would be Maxwell, no longer her own family's name. Or in Islam, she retains her family's name. She doesn't become property of the husband.
Some people might take it lightly, but it has a very psychological reflection, because when you leave her to carry her surname, she is having or preserving her identity,
There's also
rather than to be a follower.
Also, sometimes I find it difficult because when non-Muslim women come typically to talk to us, the first they want to do is to shake your hand, and I have to say, sorry, I cannot shake your hand. It's forbidden for me to touch the hand of a woman that I'm not legally not allowed to marry, and it puts them off. But if you explain it to them that it's for your own good, it's out of a sign of respect. I'm not doing this because you're a dirty or nasty person. It's because I respect you.
Yeah, this should be clarified to them, just like exposing someone to everyone's hand, Unlike jewels or something, usually they put it within a glass, so they don't look at it without touching.
So all these things are signs of respect. They're not signs that we're not listening to you. We're listening very intently to everybody. And women are more, we respect women more than we do men, so these are signs of respect.
Another thing I'd like to comment on, my last question, it's my last question. Nodding, yes, I agree with you, in most cultures it means agreement or consent. But I think in the Indian culture, shaking the head from side to side, I think, means yes.
For me, I had a problem with this personally when I first came to Saudi Arabia many years ago, 1986. I was told by my supervisor to go and ask this very nice man from Sri Lanka, who I really liked a lot. He said, please go and ask him to clean the compressor room. So I went out there, and he's a very nice man. His name was Kingsley, and he was a Muslim. And I said, Kingsley, the supervisor said for you to clean the compressor room. And he said, and I said, he told me no. Why did he tell me no? So I told him again in a nice voice, and he said, and now I'm getting angry. I've been very nice. I told him the supervisor's the one told him, and he's told me no again. So I went back to the supervisor, and the supervisor said, did you tell him? I said, yes. He said, what did he say? I said, he didn't say nothing, but he said no. What do you mean he said no? I said, I told him what you said, word for word and directly, and he went like this. And he began to laugh at me. He said, in Sri Lanka, this means it went in this ear, it come out this ear, it's okay, it means yes. So I felt very bad about this. I was the point of wanting to fight with this Sri Lankan. So
This
in all
shows
cultures,
the
it's not the
importance.
same.
This shows the importance of body language, that it might create a misunderstanding.
I noticed this also. Especially from Kerala people and Sri Lanka, their positive response is like this.
Which means yes.
Yes.
But to a person who never known this before, you think they're saying no, and it becomes very...
I wonder how do they express no? If this is yes, so if they don't say no.
I don't know.
Maybe like
I don't know. I don't think any of them have ever told me. But after that, I learned to
Yes.
maybe in his language it doesn't mean anything. So I just have to kind of accept. Ask him, do you understand? And then eventually he'll say yes, 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 yes. So all cultures are different, and everything is different.
That's why I took the time for my brothers if they have questions or comments.
regarding the surname, Yeah, you have mentioned that regarding the surname, you said that it is allowed that the woman she can keep her surname even after the marriage.
Family name, yes.
Yes. But is it okay if she want to keep husband's surname in Islam?
Well, we were talking about during the time of the Romans that when a woman got married, all of her property, whatever she was taken away from her. She became the property of the man. That's why they gave his name, his family name to her. She even lost her. So she basically became a piece of property. In the Philippines, my wife, she had to adopt my family name, even though as a Muslim she wanted to keep her family name. But because the Philippines is ruled by Christians, they made her take my name. And if there's no other choice, there's no other choice.
No, actually in Pakistan, we are, it's a culture, part of our culture that the woman will come to you after marriage. She will have to keep husband's surname. Because we
To
were
take
with,
or to keep her name.
no, to take
To
the
take-
husband's surname. Because we were with India together before, so we have so many things that belongs to Hinduism, not belongs to Islam, in culture. So this is a new thing to me that in Islam, woman should keep her, if she wants, she can keep her father's or her.
I don't think it's if she wants it. I think she has to keep
She
it.
has to.
Yeah, it's not if
See,
she wants
She
Aisha,
has to be married.
Aisha bint Abi Bakr. You must say Aisha of bint Abdullah, the family name of the Prophet.
Mhm.
Even in document and paper.
But if it's
she
by
writes-
law that your wife has to take your name, then there's no choice. It says it in the Philippines. You have no choice, no option. But we try, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said he came to do away with following culture. He wants you to follow the laws of Allah and Islam. But some places are going back to tribal customs, and it's not right, but sometimes you can't fight against it. It's fight against what you can do. You have no choice but to follow the law.
For example, also in certain areas, maybe in the Indian continent, sometimes this is the lady who paid the dowry. And this is not an Islamic.
It's not sometimes, it's all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Well, that's
Even in
incorrect.
Pakistan, it is same thing that women, a little bit different because in India they are giving the list. The man will give a list of all the things he wants from the lady's family. But in Pakistan, it's not like that. I want to marry my daughter with someone. I am the one who will prepare. He will not ask. But I know this is the culture. We'll have to prepare all the things, fridge, TV, car, if I can afford, all the stuff. And this is not part of Islam. And
No, it's against
when
Islam.
I-
Islam.
when I got married, I neglect all the things and I didn't get anything from my Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Well, this is the end of our class. Alhamdulillah. We'll see you next week, inshallah, with our last class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.